It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Obiajulu Ugo. Looking very classy this morning in your pink ensemble.
I had to borrow that style.
I can see.
As I was getting ready for work, I said, please, not one for me. Do you have anything that has pink? Just not for me. You know? And he did it for me. My weekend was great. Friday, we had TVC staff party. I came in, we ate, the food was good. Please, I need the plug of that caterer. She's really good. We danced. A lot of people won awards, long service awards, and all of that.
Our producer, Dolapo Maradesa, got 10 years. I called him. I said I received for him.
MM2 of Wake Up got 10 years, and it was really interesting. There were lots of gifts to be won, and you know, the fact that everybody showed up, the directors, the CEO, everybody just came, and they stayed till really, because I left here like to 11. They stayed till really late. It was good and interesting. Awesome. Yeah. Then Sunday we did church. It was our pastor's birthday, Pastor Paula Defarasi. Nice. Happy birthday once again. Nice. It was an interesting service. A lot of people came out to talk about, you know, all the ways he had impacted them, you know, for many years, and it was good to see. So we did that. Went home.
Talking about birthdays, my pastor's birthday is on Wednesday. Pastor PC Olowoyo. So we are
getting ready to boogie.
It's going to be 65, you know, it's a big age and there's so much happening. How are you doing, Elijah? Nima Akasha Zabiri? Just shine ring is entering my eyes. You're not going to pass it down to me. That's silver one. Okay. It's really?
Yeah, pass it.
Pass. Hey, good.
Immediate passing.
Oh, my finger can enter. How you doing?
I'm fine.
I'm so grateful to That's it. That's it.
So it was World Hijab Day commemoration on the 1st of February on Saturday. And my daughter and her school ladies went for a walk, you know, to commemorate the day. I'm so proud of you, Gufra, and your friends. The theme for this year is hijab unsilenced. And whether we like it or not, we're still being victimized and discriminated against in places. Sadly, within even the police station, so 2 hijabites were invited, and Nigerian police decided to arrest them over the weekend. I think on Friday, they were released on Sunday morning. On Saturday morning after, you know, reaching an arraignment. But while they were being detained, no hijabs.
What were they arrested?
Forced it off. So their school, there was a burglary in their school, and they were the ones in charge, their teachers in the school. And so the owner of the school brought in the police to investigate. So they were invited. Whether or not it's found with you, they decided to detain 2 of them. Them amongst others. But while they were detained, the police officers, female like them, insisted they must remove their hijab. They forced it off these ladies. So this is even the most recent one. And I've been speaking with the director of the Hijab Rights Advocacy Initiative. We did a lot of, you know, all this. I usually don't want to show up, so I don't take the entire conversation off of the people working on the field to me, because you just get people celebrity Nima when you go out for those walks. But strong Muslims in hijab are working hard to see that this stops, and they were using the court system. Most of us are lawyers, and they are working. It's sad that today, in 2025, young Muslims who choose to be covered are still being victimized. It is a choice to be naked, just as it is a choice to be covered. There's nobody, the discrimination should end, and the biases in public places should stop immediately.
I think Nima, you are overripe to champion this cause. I mean, I know
I am a member.
I know you're a member, but I think you need to drive it. So maybe for the International Women's Day that's coming, you should plan a conference around this. We can support you. You know, let us put you out there, because this is a very important cause. And it's important. We have to put all hands must be on deck. So let's talk about it. I think it's something really important for us to push. Hello, Mariam Longe. Really calm this morning. Hope all is going well. It's not as usual. Sometimes you're feisty. How are you doing?
I'm good. When there's good energy, I'm feisty. So at the weekend, my daughter and a group of other kids who had been picked to go for picked to write a scholarship exam out of town. And we went, and then parents also had to go along. We went so that we could do a tour of the school. My daughter fell ill while we were there. But I'm saying the story because specifically I just wanted to give a proper shout out to the health team on ground. The nurses there were so professional and so fabulous, you know, because we're out of Lagos. I was like, I don't know any hospital here, nothing. Because at first we thought it was just a regular, maybe nervousness, but then obviously as it progressed, it was much more than that. She was really sick. In fact, I had to now call my car to come all the way from Lagos to pick us up and go back, and she had been getting medication, all sorts of drips, you know, but she's getting better. But I was just so happy, you know, and I feel that that's something that that school should sell, that they have a strong professional health team on ground. Even if your children go to boarding school out of state, at least that will give you some sort of comfort. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, my weekend was just home, and it was trust me.
You didn't go to party?
I didn't go to party. We party.
Which videos were we seeing?
No, that was on Friday before the staff party. I went to Abba Kyari that morning.
Hey, I was wondering.
So
I saw Abba Kyari video.
Yes, I was in Abba Kyari, and then that was for Mrs. Tonj Okewale Shoinaya's mother's funeral. Okay. So she's the MD of Women FM and Women Radio. So we went there to support her.
Really good.
Really nice. It was really nice. So we went there. So for the Saturday, I was home doing home things. Mariam has told me to stop saying it, but doing home things.
Okay.
Sunday, I was also doing home things. So, but yeah, I'm back. Okay, let's go on a very short break.
We didn't say congratulations to Thames.
To who?
Oh, she won a Grammy.
Yes.
Thames
won a Grammy.
Yay! This morning I'm seeing training. But Thames won the best performing African performance at the Grammys.
I've not seen the report
back
yet.
To Nigeria this year.
Yeah, we're so happy.
Congratulations, sir. Let's go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. I forgot to mention that one of our producers, Okwesha Njobi too, got recognition for 10 years in TVC. Congratulations to Okwesha Njobi. I mean, I think I missed it. I must have missed it. My sincere apologies. Okay, let's start with The Nation. Presidency to Atiku, El-Rufai will be others. Will meet in 2027. GHL, FBN's alleged appeal of order lifting marital abuse of court process. Wando's turnover rises to 4.1 trillion naira. 30 die in Ondo Road accident. FBN, why banks cannot comply with order lifting restrictions on GHL accounts. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay, should I start with the GHL story?
Start with GHL. What happened?
So GHL, they have called out the Federal First Bank of Nigeria, saying that they are abusive of court process by asking that courts should not, carry on with the lifting of the Mariva that was interimly placed on them, on their accounts. So they had come out. I took that story on Friday that that the court has vacated the quoted Justice Dikweolu's court of Federal High Court as vacating that Mariva order, and so I said their banks were now free to interact and do their transactions, receive as well as pay out monies. But the First Bank now came out saying that no, the declarative order should not be obeyed by the courts, and First Bank gave reasons. Obeyed by the banks, and First Bank gave reasons, but the GHL has come out to say that it's abusive of the court order, that the banks have already started obeying the order. Also, the banks should ordinarily obey those orders because it's been lifted, that it's a declarative order, and it is erroneous erroneously claimed by the First Bank that compliance with the order is
premature.
Wrong, is premature.
Okay, so
they insisted that it's a completed act, and so it does not need any further steps to take. But I learned in school that declarative orders of court needed enforcement orders.
Okay.
So you had to get an enforcement order. That's what I learned. But I'm hearing what
from First Bank's response. First Bank was saying that that they said that they like to see in action that it's premature for the banks to accept that order, because aside from the fact that there are other issues that have to be complied with before the court decision is completed, they said that they also have appealed, they put out an appeal against the discharge of the Mareva. So because the appeal is still ongoing, everything will should stay action for now. Everything
less than small lawyers' knowledge, I know that the GHL is wrong in this instance. The First Bank did not wait for that enforcement order that was supposed to follow the declarative one before they appealed. So I think they're in order, but this is why they're back and forth on the paper.
I've got the major headline. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is ready for any challenge from opposition leaders during the 2027 general election. That's what the presidency is saying. And then it had its faulted comments by its political opponent against the administration, describing them as distracting and Machiavellian. The presidency advised the leading opposition figures and other critics, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Obi, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, Malon Nasser El-Rufai, and Mr. Rotimi Amechi to wait till the next poll before they flex muscles. The presidency says the activities of the opposition leaders are premature. This is 2025, not 2027. Let those who want to test their popularity with Nigerians wait for the next election. The special advisor on media and public communications said also, they said, peeping into the future, former House of Rep Speaker and ex-governor of Katsina State said that there was no alternative to APC. Former member of NWC of the party, Salihu Lukman, said some of the opposition figures lack the quality of leadership, urging them to drop their presidential ambition. He said, based on their records, they exhibit intolerant dispositions and poor relationships, on account of which they have mismanaged their transitions and are today hardly in control of political structures in their state. Anyway, on and on and on, as you know. So they're just saying.
I have a human interest story. The Federal Road Safety Corps, as the FRSC in Ondo State, has confirmed the death of 30 persons in a road accident at Onipesi on the Ore-Lagos Highway, Odigbo local government area. They said a total of 28 persons were burnt beyond recognition, while 2 others died while being taken to the hospital for treatment. 2 survivors were said to have been receiving treatment in the hospital. The accident occurred when 2 commercial buses had a head-on collision, and they said it burst into flames. The Ondo FRSC Commander Samuel Ibitoye said preliminary investigation showed that one of the vehicles had driven against traffic, and that was what caused the accident, and that happened on Saturday. But they said more investigations will unravel exactly what happened.
Okay, moving on now to the Punch. Dangote price slash, marketers with imported fuel fear losses. NCDC tightens airport surveillance as Uganda battles Ebola. I believe Ladoja has information on Bola Ige's murder, says Bisi Akondi. Foreign accounts, a First Bank representing court ruling, says GHL. And then electricity tariff hike looms as federal government plans to end subsidy. Okay, which story are we starting? Step one story for the break.
We could take Dangote. So they said that Dangote had reduced his fuel price. You know, marketers have been complaining that Dangote's fuel was more expensive than what they were getting if they had to import. And I think over the weekend they had to slash the price from 950 naira to for a liter to 890 naira per liter. And you know, this was a relief for Nigerians, but then the marketers who had already purchased at the 950 would likely have to crash their prices, or else they will be out of the market. So instead of just keeping that stock, and that's what happens. And so people are talking about it. They are saying that if you have to buy fuel, you need to pay attention to where you're buying, the price that you're buying, because any slash can affect your business, and you'll be losing close to millions of naira. So we are happy that at least Dangote has heard the cry. Competition, yes. So if you reduce, you sell out, and then you buy from him, and you know,
that's what we wanted to achieve.
It's a good one.
Subsidy removal. Let it be plain competition. Let's go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past few years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides great benefits to all our 500 employees. We thank our team for giving us the chance to show that partnership between employer and employee really works. TVC Communications, officially designated as a great place to work, and now the only broadcasting and media company not just in Nigeria but throughout continental Africa to be fully certified. TVC Communications, a great Nigerian company, a great Nigerian place to work.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jam. So
my 20 was 320. I suppose don't be one metal.
At this point, I contest my jam.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
Okay, that's all we can take. I choose to close the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, #1 unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for #1 on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now. His name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
Another.
For dessert and a bit of nightcap, we have the nighttime and online specials.
I want to start the gym, yeah, but do you know one thing that's actually keeping me back?
You should start the gym to get fat.
Cricket.
She says she does pole dancing to empower women.
What's the difference?
There's a difference.
That's what I'm saying.
So pole dancer, you're already almost naked. You're already almost naked.
No, the empowerment for me.
Sex can make a relationship better.
No.
Sex can never be overrated.
It is needed.
Especially when it's good sex too.
Almost every guy has been with somebody's girlfriend.
But they are for all of us now.
That's why you're still single.
I would not agree or disagree with that because I don't want to get into trouble. I have a home to go to.
Your next question.
Oh, you ready to fail?
Who is the person you see some sports?
That woman.
Yeah,
Today we'll go here.
Hey.
Let's catch up.
And so we've been able to satisfy your cravings, yeah? Stay good. TVC Entertainment for pure entertainment. Now you can catch up with your favorite programs on TVC. Log on to www.
Only 8 can be transmitted across the country, and only 4 to 5 gigawatts can be directly delivered to homes and businesses. And a senior and undisclosed senior official of NEC told the correspondent of Bloomberg that all electricity customers, except for those of Band A, would soon be should be prepared for a cost-reflective tariff. Olu, I don't know if it's a she or he, says that a cost-reflective as well as a cost-efficient tariff will soon be done across the country, and this has elicited a lot of reactions across board.
Okay, final story on Punch. So the former governor of Osun State, Bisi Akande, Chief Bisi Akande, had raised fresh concerns about the unresolved assassination of the former Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Chief Bola Ige. He was speaking during an interview with the Ace broadcaster Edmund Obilo in Ibadan, where he released a statement saying that Akande lamented that key figures who might have shed more light on the death of Bola Ige have died, including the former state governor Lam Adesina. According to her, there are many things that die with people. I know Lam Adesina went to court over the matter, and I also know that Ladoja withdrew the case. Ask Ladoja, he would know and be able to shed more light on Bola Ige's death. Quite a few things I also said at that interview. It's a really interesting interview to actually listen to. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Quickly, price war looms in fuel market. Court order lifting Mareva is declarative. Can't be stayed, says GHL. Bloody Sunday as 30 die in Ondo crash. Police warns defaulters as enforcement of third-party insurance policy begins. Excuse me. Deportee undergoes surgery in NDLA custody to expel 81 wraps of cocaine in the stomach. Nigeria on red alert as Uganda confirms Ebola outbreak. And pressure mounts on Tinubu to reinstate impeached Lagos House Speaker of Assembly, Obasa, former Speaker of Assembly. Okay, which story?
Okay, so let me just quickly drop the drama with Obasa. So according to the Sun, they have wind that the president would be meeting with the lawmakers of the Lagos State House of Assembly and the impeached Speaker and other major stakeholders this week, because the president, according to them, is keen on ensuring that this situation does not escalate. Basic.
Oh, that was not drama. Anyway, NDLEA has arrested a 59-year-old businessman, Chijioke Ibokwe, who has undergone surgery, exploratory laparotomy, to let out 57 out of 81 pellets of cocaine stuck in his stomach after 7 days of ingesting the illicit substance in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So they say the story is that he had, first of all, he's into the cloth business at Arena Oshodi, Lagos, and he departed Lagos January 22nd, where he ingested 81 wraps to Addis Ababa, where he ingested 81 wraps of cocaine, and then boarded a flight to Beirut, and then Lebanon, and then that was where he was meant to deliver the illicit consignment for the fee of $3,000. But he was refused entry because he had less than $2,000, which is the amount, amount that you need to be able to go into the country. So he was deported to Addis Ababa, and of course he was, and then the illicit drugs, also were found on him. They brought him back to his home country, and where he could not expel some of it, what was left, they had to take it out through surgery. You know what is funny? I'm just thinking of his flight back, knowing that everybody now knows that you have ingested drugs, and then you're brought back to Nigeria, and they had to even get his family to consent that they wanted this surgery to be done. Meanwhile, all this time, everybody knows that you're a drug dealer, a mule. it's really sad. We're grateful to NDLEA for doing the good work that they're doing, and we just hope that people would learn, you know, to just put this aside. But it's a global issue. Must pay them a lot.
Right. The Nigerian police will commence the enforcement of the mandatory third-party insurance today, according to the first PRO, that's Olumuyiwa Adejobi. The enforcement is in line with the directive from the Inspector General of Police. He said that this initiative aims to reinforce road safety measures and ensure that all vehicle owners comply with the stipulated insurance requirement to protect themselves and others on the road. The Nigerian Police Force cautions vehicle owners and operators against non-compliance with this new regulation. Moving on to Vanguard, our final paper for this morning. Let's find a story not taken. Telecoms tariff hike. FG meets NLC leaders over tomorrow's protest. Nigeria, Africa under pressure as Trump slams tariff on Canada, Mexico, and China. And I think that's the story of Ayuba's Bello, how OP scholarships sustain the family's livelihood. Okay,
let me take NLC. So they said to avert tomorrow's nationwide protest by the Nigerian Labour Congress, as the NLC, and its civil society allies against the 50% hike in telecommunications tariff. The federal government had summoned labour leaders to a meeting today. So according to the Vanguard, it said that the meeting is also to discuss NLC's opposition to the 8 billion government budgetary allocation for electricity bill sensitization, which the labour movement described as wastefulness and corruption. So it said a source from the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, that's the SGF, told that the meeting would be hosted, but they had to schedule the meeting at 5 p.m. because they had a fake meeting that will be happening first in the morning. Then afterwards, they will now meet with NLC. And they also said that NLC was already galvanizing workers for a mass protest, which is tomorrow, February 4th, against the 50% hike in tariff. And the meeting, also discussed the fact that the government had already planned to use 8 billion to sensitize people to know how to use their power supply. And that was, for them, was just money being wasted. So they are going to be discussing all of this in that meeting. I said there's no way they are going to accept the 50% telecommunications tariff hike. And they've told all their workers to be ready for like a one-day protest tomorrow. They need to make that noise so that the federal government will know that they've taken the matter serious and see how they can resolve it before it extends to full-blown strike.
Let me take Trump. So Trump, Nigeria and Africa, according to this report, are facing reality of imminent shocks. It hasn't come to us yet. This is just preemptive, according to this report. It says that since Donald Trump has made good his threats to toughen tariffs to various economies around the world, so he has increased the imports from Canada, from Mexico to 25%, Canada also 25%, and China 10%. Canada has already announced a retaliatory rate regime, while Mexico also said it was planning its own to issue tariffs on the U.S. as well. China said that they're going to take them to WTO, that's the World Trade Organization, claiming that they seriously violate the WTO rules. The U.S. tariff order notes that should any of these nations retaliate against the United States with import duties or similar measures, the President Trump may increase or expand in scope the duties imposed under the order to ensure the efficacy of his action. According to the White House, the salvo is aimed at curbing the inflow of immigrants into the country and to stop illicit drugs into the U.S., spurring a resurgence in domestic manufacturing and raising federal revenue. That's all I can take on this Trump matter. But it hasn't reached us. They have not said anything about Africa yet, so we should calm down. Any other story in Vanguard? Okay, I think that's all we can take. Anybody Tribune? Let's find a story quickly. We have time for Tribune. Middle-aged man killed in Ibadan. Police launch manhunt for killers. Lagos speakership, Tinubu not restating Obasanjo's source. And Northern Leaders Coalition proponents write off PDP. That's according to 2027 plans. Any story, Tribune? Nobody? Okay. That's all we can take on Front Page Review this morning. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, more to our hot topic of today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know still because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home this transformed every day.
Your champs need. Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for us, speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past few years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides great benefits to all our 500 employees. We thank our team for giving us the chance to show that partnership between employer and employee really works. TVC Communications, officially designated as a great place to work, and now the only broadcasting and media company not just in Nigeria but throughout continental Africa to be fully certified. TVC Communications, a great Nigerian company, a great Nigerian place to work.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jam results.
My 20 was 320. I suppose don't be one medical.
At this point, I contest my jam results.
I want to close the show.
I can go.
I can. That's all we can take. Ejeki, close the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, at number 1, Unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for number 1 on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Check it out.
Another at tvccommunications.tv. Partner with TVC Communications today. Let's grow together.
thanks for staying with us. A trending report created quite a bit of national discourse, generated mixed reactions, especially amongst netizens. It borders on the convicted notorious kidnapper Chukwudumeme Onwamadike, that's Evans, seeking pardon over his outstanding case with the Lagos state government. According to this counsel, Emefo Etudo Evans recently bagged a Nigerian certificate in examination, NCE. He is now at 200 level and he is willing to further till his PhD level. He is now a changed person, remorseful of every atrocity that he has committed, and now he's hoping that the Lagos state government can enter some sort of a plea bargain with him. So do you agree with this? That's really the conversation we're having today. But before we discuss it, let's look at the report from TVC News.
The news at 1. Let's bring you more on that case on Evans, who is a convicted kidnapper, Chukwudumeme Onwamadike. He's also popularly known as Evans and has been rearranged on a 5-count charge of murder and kidnapping before Justice Adenike Koka of the Lagos State High Court, Ikeja. Now, the defendant says he has repented and is pushing for a plea bargain. Kemi Foladeyemo reports.
This is the third kidnapping-related case being brought against Evans by the Lagos State government. In February 2022, an Ikeja High Court judge, Hakim Oshodi, sentenced him to life imprisonment for the kidnap of Donatus Dunu, the chief executive officer of Maidon Pharmaceuticals Limited. In September same year, another judge of the High Court, Oluwatoyin Taiwo, now retired, sentenced Evans to 21 years imprisonment for kidnapping a businessman, Silvanus Ahamonu, and collecting $420,000 as ransom from his family. Apart from this present case, he is also being charged by the state government in 2 other matters. Evans and his co-defendant, Joseph Emeka, were brought before this court for the alleged offenses of the murders of 2 persons, as well as attempted murder and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. On Thursday, both defendants were rearranged on the 5 counts charge, which they pleaded not guilty to. The prosecutor, Yusuf Sule, asked the court for a date to proceed on trial by the judge for a report on the defendant's plea bargain application. The counsel said the matter is currently before the committee set up by the state government and that the second defendant is also seeking a plea bargain. In his response, Evans' lead defense counsel says he newly took up the case to represent the first defendant and that his primary focus now is to pursue the plea bargain request and not to proceed on trial. He says Evans recently bagged a Nigeria certificate in education while in custody and is willing to further his education to the level of PhD.
The federal government gave him an opportunity to reform and re-educate himself. They gave him scholarship at a maximum security prison, Krike. He took the scholarship. The outcome of the scholarship is that today he has NECO, he has NCE, merit. That is almost distinction. And he was admitted on merit to Open University. And he's on 200 level. Because if the plea bargain and clemency, which we are pursuing, is acceptable to Lagos State government, and he is let out of prison, he will be under the custody of Lagos State government.
Evans has been remanded at the Kirikiri Maximum Security Facility here in Lagos for the past 8 years. He says he's now remorseful of all the crimes he's committed and is asking the Lagos State government for a second chance. But the prosecutor told the court that his plea bargain request will now be tabled before the committee, who will sit next in March. This case has now been adjourned to March
of the existing sentences. Okay. So it's, you see, as it is now, to forgive him, as this has highlighted, is to, as a society, give validation to that crime. It will become a way of anybody getting money, find a way to launder it. And to launder is not really hard now. If you come out, you do a lot of charities, you give yourself, you can even run for politics.
Eventually. Let me come to Mariam, your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so for me as well, you know, it is that Evans is a mastermind kidnapper. That is like catching a drug baron and saying, and who has like network and has done heavy cases, and has been pursued for years, and then you finally get that sort of person, and then you're thinking of clemency or some sort. It does not make sense to me, and I'm sure for many Nigerians it doesn't. The point that his lawyer made, where he says he is now a degree holder, I don't understand. If he had gone in as a teenager or an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and because of that, so he's growing and learning. So maybe he had not come to full maturity at the time he committed the crime, and now with age he's doing, not only is he growing and getting more mature, he's also acquiring degrees. It will make sense. But for Oga Evans, who was a whole scary, like just his name then, sent fear down our spine. I refer to him as the Anini of kidnapping. As we all know the story of Anini, what he stood for. His name is being used forever, for the for armed robbery that he did. And now we have an Evans, and we're thinking of Clement. I don't know what the message would be. I don't know what that would do to our justice system. Already, the justice system, there's so much distrust for it. We don't believe that cases are handled properly and on time. We don't believe that people who deserve justice get justice. So many reasons. And then you have such a case as this, which will not only be about justice, but as a way of also laundering your image if this passes, properly, and then you're talking of clemency. It does not make any sense. I hope that, that the reason that this has come to the fore, sometimes I just feel like there's a way God does this thing. It's so that you can remind people of someone like this, and then send a message to people that there are consequences for actions like this. When Evans was kidnapping, it was almost new at that time, because the reason why it was hard for him to have been caught, it wasn't so widespread, It was still new. He lived amongst people, he lived in a community, because it just did not make sense. But he has, for me, as far as I'm concerned, he started a trend. Now everybody is doing this and making money from it. We used to think kidnapping was done for, political reasons. Then he was the one that commercialized this kidnapping. And then we're talking of clemency. He will be doing Nigeria a great disservice. Will be doing our justice system a great disservice if Evans is granted any form of pardon. The plea bargain, I would like to hear the terms of that. Would it be maybe reduced sentence for information that can help, in the fight against this kidnapping that we're dealing with? But lastly, I just want to say also, for me, it also shows that it's about money. This is a man that's obviously able to still pay for lawyers. And the scenario that you painted, if he didn't have money to pay for lawyers, would we even be sitting down here discussing whether he needs clemency or not? It's because for some reason they see him to be better or bigger or more equal than others. And as always in Nigeria, money has a way of just disrupting things, and please,
all right,
this should not even be a conversation.
The angle I wanted to bring in also, because all of us, we're all on the same page on this, but let's come to the issue of public execution or life sentences versus death penalty. Because the truth is that with the way we have described who Evans is, what many countries, especially Asian countries, would have probably preferred was a public. He would have been killed. Yes, public execution. But in our laws right now, we haven't seen that carried out in recent times, in fact, many years. I was reading somewhere where it was only in 2006 that China began to consider how they reduce the amount of death penalties they're having. So we are a very, very young democracy. And because we are still young, there are a few things that we are already it's quite ambitious for us to believe that we can actually develop a society to a world-class level if we don't begin to weed out the bad eggs amongst us. And it's not by weeding them out, it's not about just throwing them in prison, because somehow in this part of the world, there's prison break, there's people paying their way out of prison, there's people living 5-star in their prisons. There are different people they live around it. So what's the best approach if we really want to strengthen this very young democracy that we're still nurturing? Don't you think in cases like this we should begin to consider death penalty that is properly executed or publicly executed? Because there was a time it was done during the military era, and there was a lot of backlash then. Things have changed, but where we are, don't you think is worth considering? I'd probably like to start with Nima, because you're the lawyer here, and then I'll come to BC.
But you know that I don't usually agree.
I know you don't. That's I'm coming to you.
Because The chances of injustices when it comes to that is too much. It's too huge a risk to take. We don't have a system perfect enough. We don't have, when we talk of forensic investigations being done, it is only for high profile cases and high profile suspects. At this time of our lives, okay, we have a school over the weekend. I said I got a call where it was vandalized, fans were removed, and the teachers were detained. Because now you keep key, now you lock here, now you're supposed to close up. We're talking of vandalism. A stronger justice system would have fingerprints, have data. Everybody's data in the state is
cameras
one
around
data bank. So they will now go and pick, okay, the teachers, they locked up, but whose hand was on the wires, who, they can pick that, and they say is linked to so person from our data bank, and that person will be arrested and seen whether the person was within the vicinity. But we don't have that kind of. Now the system we have, you're the last seen. It was last seen with you, Orogonia. You will explain where you go after you saw him. So that's the system we still have. Imagine that kind of system with the kind of justice you're describing. A lot of injustices will happen. You have innocent people fired who will be saying, I'm innocent, but who even lack the means to get a lawyer to put in all this argument of and create a doubt in the case of the prosecution. Before you know it, a lot of people will just be falling and dying like that. And because of that, we are not ripe for that. We can increase the consequence. Our sentences for kidnapping like this, kidnapping not until death. If you are involved in any form of kidnapping and your gang and co and members were picked, it should have been death sentence. Some states are varying it and saying if your victim, your hostage dies in your custody, then it is a death sentence. But we have cases of murder. We can increase and make more deterring the consequence of these crimes, but we should not have it like that and firing squad like that military days without proper trial. And we must be able to exhaust all our appeals before we carry out any.
Let me come to you. I like the angle Nima has taken, that we don't have the proper data and mechanisms to carry out such cases. But I want to differ, because I know that one of the reasons we are not really intent on building the sort of data we need for cases like this is because everybody is corrupt. Corruption is has become a part of our culture, where everybody is benefiting from one person or the other. The family members of Evans will not have said that they did not notice that something was going on with him. They were shopping. I think the younger sister was in court to testify. He first talk, okay, yes, he come back again, he talk no, and all of that. So everybody is benefiting, and everybody is thinking in their head, what if I am the next person that is caught? If we insist on such laws and it gets to my turn, that means the same thing will happen to me. And that is why we are still, petting the issue of corruption. The truth of the matter is we don't have space in our prisons to keep keeping people. Have you seen the deplorable state of the prisons? Have you seen how many people stay in if an epidemic comes out from that place, that's the end of the country, because we do not have the systems to even maintain. There's no space, except of course we want to start using our free land to start building prisons. We don't have that space. And so for countries who have decided that, you see, we're not going to take any form of corruption from anybody, I don't think they had all the systems in place when they started it. And I think as they were doing it, they kept seeing the loopholes and say, okay, we need to get the data right here. We need to get our forensics right here. It's about the will to do. We don't have the will to do it. And so we keep making excuses. Which year are we going to have our data complete before we do it? We will never. Because it's not priority for us. We're thinking of food, we're thinking of fuel, we're thinking of a lot. It's not priority for us. But if we say that this corruption, we're going to fight it tooth and nail, that also means that the people who are fighting the corruption will get into the cross lines, because many of them too, claiming to fight the corruption, are corrupt. We've seen issues in some of these agencies where even internally we see how corruption comes out of there. So everybody's hand is sold one way or the other. But if we want to come out of this, it's something that we need to decide as a people and as a country to say zero tolerance to corruption. Now, this person is a high-profile person. So let's set a few examples first. This one is not like we're suspecting they may have lied against him. It is clear that he's a criminal and he has done this, this, and this. Some of the victims were able to test. It is clear that he has done it. So what are we waiting for? Which forensic again do we need to prosecute such a person?
Let me cut it very short before we come back, because there's an angle that if we're able to give clemency to Boko Haram, why can't we to an Evans? Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ready for school?
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
TVC Communications, Nigeria's leading independent broadcast company, has been officially designated as a great place to work. Over the past few years, we have transformed our workplace into one which is respectful, caring, rewarding, and provides great benefits to all our 500 employees. We thank our team for giving us the chance to show that partnership between employer and employee really works. TVC Communications, officially designated as a great place to work, and now the only broadcasting and media company not just in Nigeria but throughout continental Africa to be fully certified. TVC Communications, a great Nigerian company, a great Nigerian place to work.
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
Welcome to Pure Entertainment. What would you like to order from our menu today? We have the regulars.
So let me go and look for my jam results.
By 20 or 320. I suppose don't be one
At this point, I contest my jam results.
I want to close the show.
I can go. I can.
Okay, that's all we can take. I choose to close the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 1, Unavailable by Davido featuring Musa Keys.
We also have today's chef special.
Yo, shine, 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 shiny, yeah. Say recap done, and it's time for number 1 on the countdown. One of Nigeria's hottest artists right now, his name is Rema, and this one is called Charm. Kick it.
Another.
For dessert and a bit of nightcap, we have
brand new studio, brand new set, a new face, but still your favorite breakfast show, Wake Up Nigeria.
It's a fresh new energy, new vibe. You smell that?
Now that's the smell of
Thanks for staying with us. All right, so for the break, Mariam was going to jump in here.
Yes, you know, you had mentioned if some of our terrorists get general pardon, why shouldn't an Evans get one? Really, I feel like that's another topic, a huge topic actually, but I don't compare them, because even with the rehabilitation of terrorists, it's not a blanket pardon for all of them. Their masterminds and their leaders are still being, you know, pursued and bombed and killed wherever they get them. There are different circumstances or contexts that can be given to all the others that may be rehabilitated, but I feel like that's another topic that can be discussed separately. And so that's why I don't want us to make it a if then why not Evans, because Evans is a whole different person. For me, he stands not just a criminal, but as the face of that sort of criminality. The level in which he did it, how widespread his network is, or what may still be, you know, may still be very much thriving till this day, because he's obviously earning money somehow to be able to pay lawyers. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know, I've not heard of anything he's doing in the prison that is gaining him any sort of income. And I don't know, we have not heard anything of his family members, if they're doing something to provide or pay for his lawyers. I think that this is such a sensitive topic that when we're discussing it, it should be really about making sure that justice is done, because we need to send a clear message to all criminals. We need to send a clear message to kidnappers, especially today, that we're constantly besieged by one kidnapping story or the other. Young boys now are getting into it because they feel that it's a quick way to make money. He has, as I said earlier, commercialized this kidnapping thing. People are just doing it just for the quick buck. In fact, someone feels like they're a little broke. We've heard it. A student feels they're a little broke. You get someone and, you know, that person is kidnapped and you get ransom. So for whatever reason that this was brought up, I hope it's only because we need to reiterate that people like this should not be should not go scot-free. They should pay for their actions. People died in his custody. He kidnapped someone, I remember, who died in his custody even after ransom was paid. I don't understand where the conversation, you know, is supposed to lead. You know?
Let me take this caller. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Hello. I think I lost that call.
Okay, so let me even just add to Mariam. So people now kidnap themselves. It's not a thing. It's gotten that bad. If you don't kidnap your wife or your friends for money, you kidnap yourself and tell your family that you're missing so that you get money. But that's how far and how bad this has gotten. But in the reverse of things, just because you asked the question that if we are pardoning and forgiving and rehabilitating Boko Haram members, why not Evans? Because the Boko Haram members we rehabilitated were not being held in prison. They were returned to their places. And so the crimes would continue. Personally, I do not agree anybody should be involved in terrorism, involved in kidnapping that extended to murder. I remember that Evans used to carry out his kidnapping gangster style. They'll be shooting sporadically. And innocent people would drop, and those were not even accounted for, up all the way to the house of his victims. And so murder was involved. But he was also a drug dealer. And Abba Kyari, who led the team at the time that investigated him, has also been indicted in a drug settlement arrangement. That same Abba Kyari is being held by a federal high court and suspended from the police force. Recently, there was an application. I'm trying to find out for sure whether he was released. I think he was released. He was granted a period of time to go back to Borno for the burial of his mom. So we as a society have to be clear what we are talking about. As we have all three agreed here that, you know, Evans should not in any way be given any clemency. Are we not also doing the same thing to other people that as a society we shouldn't? What do we think gave Evans the mind to come out and
even the lawyers advise him?
Yes, to advise him that you said, you don't get two heads now. Those people don't have two heads. The Abba Kyari who was allowed to go and bury his mom, he was being investigated for something as serious as compromising a trusted system. Yeah. You were the head of the IRT, of the IDP at the time. You were the one who arrested someone like Evans. You were found with video evidence. According to the court then, they said the NDLEA gave too much strong evidence for Abba Kyari to play it down. The same Abba Kyari was held, and there's an extradition appeal by Dubai after Hush Puppy was arrested for him to be extradited to Dubai to face charges of fraud and his connivance with Hush Puppy. But the same Abba Kyari is giving some form of considerable treatment here to the extent he go bury him, Mama.
Okay.
He left our prison to go and bury, which means that we'll see escorting with police.
It goes back to who we are as a people. Yes. Our people sometimes, who we are as a people. We always admire these foreign systems, forgetting that it was a conscious effort sometimes to build the systems, and it's something that it's not going to happen overnight. Because people just, when we have Nigerians grow abroad, they say, oh, only Nigeria can be like this. Like, they didn't get there overnight. It was a conscious effort. So if we don't bring that consciousness to us, we're not going to get to that level. But let me take this caller, our final caller this morning. Good morning, Emmanuel from Aja.
Yeah.
You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, morning. I just want to talk more about this Evan case. Thank you, guys. You guys are doing a great job here.
I can't hear you, Emmanuel.
Evan of 18. I thought that guy, they have already killed him already. Why should Evan even be discussing Evan issue in public like this any longer? I thought that guy, they have killed him already. Why should they even plead for pardon?
Another person is
He's wrong.
Sorry, Emmanuel, we couldn't hear you.
I heard him.
What did he say?
I cannot repeat it. He said, why are we even still discussing Evans today? He thought he would have been unalived in prison. Now, why would he be asking for...
he sorted himself in. That's if he's in the...
No, the case is still in court. I mean, he was already serving, remember? But there's a third case that was brought against him. We have to wrap up on this, but I think generally, we all agree that, yes, based on what his lawyer was saying, asking that they were trying to appeal to the committee that was set up by the Lagos State government to see how he can be granted a bit of clemency. And based on what this conversation is, that we don't think is a good idea. But again, it's not our own place to say. We'll wait for the courts to determine that. I think that's all we can take. Any comments on this?
We have. Mrs. says such a high-profile convict should serve the sentence to a very reasonable extent before any form of clemency is considered. The trauma it caused victims cannot be overemphasized. Sir Cor Michael says, if Lagos State wants to pardon Evans, they should be prepared to pardon all the prisoners detained illegally for years without trial. Yes, I think, and one Evans for those awaiting trial.
Muritala Akande says, as hardened criminals complaining that he was grouped with common criminal while in prison. That guy is very funny, bold and full of himself. He
does look
Corey says, this is not a time to grant Evans clemency when kidnapping is at an all-time high.
Okay, let me take some from our Twitter that we have not talked about. He says, investigation so that more are caught. That's what will reduce the crime. People should... Okay, go on.
No, go on.
Okay, we have to wrap up anyway. Responding to Morales, he says, unless you want to start slaughtering en masse like the Kamagog, execution can't result in significant prison population reduction since death row inmates are not that many. Give more prison is what you need to do.
Thinkami says, pardoned convicted former governors are vicariously liable for many more deaths by their corrupt running of state affairs that ruin lives. The only reason the kidnappers case stands out is because of the direct harm on the victims. Chigozia Magdam says, we should be careful with our judiciary system and things we condone. We pardon kidnappers, bandits, terrorists, but severely punish people over flimsy cases most times. Let's be careful what we propagate.
Okay, our final caller. Good morning. We lost our call. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll move on to our next segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tasty, tantalizing food from our various chefs.
And when it comes to sports updates with insightful analysis, the place you want to be is Wake Up Nigeria.
That's right. Every second there's a fresh occurrence, and every minute there's a story to tell. Keep abreast of happening locally and internationally via the news updates of Wake Up Nigeria.
It's live camera fashion, where we strut, slay, and sashay, and keep you updated with all the latest fashion trends.
Level up your morning.
Watch Wake Up Nigeria, where every morning begins with a spark.
Aww. From meetings to evening soirees, I'll be there. Or to the trendiest street festivals or to music concerts, Events Diary has something for everyone. So join me as we explore the vibrant tapestry of Nigerian scene, one event at a time.
Level 2, electrified fence.
Terrifying. Let's get out of here.
Hey, Nick fam! Remember, Nick on TVC is your one-stop for engaging children's shows like El Tigre, Paw Patrol, SpongeBob SquarePants, Kung Fu Panda, and lots more to keep the kids glued to their screens. Catch us on Mondays to Fridays at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on TVC.
Okay, so now let's get to the intimate part.
Exactly.
Now. So do you feel this whole enhancement, the whole you do boobs, you do ass, does it now make you good in bed? You do your dick, does it make you good in bed? You do abs, are you now more attracted to your partner?
Are you more confident?
Exactly, to now perform well.
As a woman, you
Maybe
have bigger breasts, you have bigger... Come on, you feel more sexier. It's affecting in bed.
Okay, Beverly, you know what?
No,
I really want to hear your take, but
the experience of it doesn't change the experience.
I want to hear Desmond's side. I want to hear your own, but your own is making me feel somehow.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
I'm being serious.
Is that your trousers are going on?
Hey! Hey! Hagulalumo!
Yes,
LGBTQ.
Oh my God.
Thanks for staying with us. So joining us to speak on the state of Nigeria's economy, which is the biggest issue for Nigerians today, is a financial advocate, a leading authority on Nigeria's financial and economic sectors. And in a layman's view, he will be speaking on the future, also responding and putting clarity to gray areas in the economy. He will also be fielding all questions surrounding the nation's people understanding exactly what's going on. Welcome with us, Mr. Ugochukwu Obichukwu, the founder, CEO of Nairametrics, also known as Ugo Dre. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Same here.
So one of the reasons why your view is different from all other shows on Nigerian television, when you watch your view, you understand really hard, complex, thorny issues easier. We break it down to the average Nigerian to understand. So let us take a few steps back and even understand what is going on in our economy. Everything Nigerians know is that it's bad. Things are expensive. They remove subsidy. They floated the naira. There's back and forth with when they said Dangote would help us produce fuel and it's be cheaper. Dangote increases fuel. There's issue. It's still expensive. So people are just confused. All they know is that it's expensive in the market. So let us come back. Let us rewind ourselves to subsidy is gone. From that speech to where we are today. What exactly happened? Jeez. We can just break it down and then we'll take it from there.
All right, great. Thanks for having me, ladies. An amazing studio, by the way.
Thank you.
So, what has happened? So, I think we've got to go back to like 2014, 2015, when, because that's really when it started. A lot of people don't know that. That's when we had that very first oil price crash. And Nigeria depends a lot on oil, right? That's really what drives the economy in general. So that happened in 2014-15, just as the Buhari administration was coming in. And so as that happened, a lot of foreign investors just basically jackpot out of Nigeria, right? They took their money out. And so we now saw that exchange rate depreciation that happened. And so there were a lot of reforms that the Buhari administration tried to do. If you remember, exchange rate hit 500 and then later it fell back to 300 and we got into a recession. Anyways, things were stabilizing 2018, 19. If you all remember, exchange rate was like 360 to 1 for a pretty long time. And then COVID hit in 2020. And then everything now went back down again. And so 21, 22, 23 rough years, government revenue dipped, exchange rate, was just topsy-turvy with government and of course the central bank at the time trying to hold it artificially. We had
spent all our savings,
and then of course there was ways and means because we now couldn't really borrow that much. Government wasn't really making that much revenue. So CBN was now bailing out government, and we had that ways and means story that went over 20 trillion, and we were also over borrowing. And so the current administration came in, and it was also a different world, right? So it wasn't a world where they were given a lot of emerging economies like Nigeria or poor economies like Nigeria, a lot of money. And so we had to now go through what they call structural reforms. And so sometimes those reforms can be homegrown, sometimes the reforms can be IMF driven. And so the reforms that we went through was the first subsidy removal, the exchange rate, I don't know what, some people might want to call it basically moving towards a more market friendly exchange rate. And then not just removal of fuel subsidy, but removal of subsidies across. So whether it's fuel subsidy or whether it's electricity subsidy, and more recently now you're going to see telecoms as well, prices taking off. And guess what? It's actually not only in Nigeria though. So this is happening across sub-Saharan Africa. So a lot of people don't realize that. So you tend to think it's just a Nigerian problem, but it really isn't. So it's happening across, but at various degrees of implementation. So I think maybe the problem we have here is that the implementation is like, it's coming really fast and hard. And I'm actually shocked that we were able to survive this the whole of last year. Because I don't know how many times, how many countries could you, like you had fuel price increase last year. You had exchange rate take a nosedive, prices of foods and goods and services, everything was just up. And yet we still had a very dirty December. So
when I said survive, I said the reason I said survive, I said you say it as if we had a choice.
What
would we have done? But I like that you also highlighted that these issues are issues that many countries, especially sub-Saharan African countries, are going through right now, because a lot of us felt it was just incompetent government administration. So where is it, was there a part of incompetence in either the previous administration, or was there maybe hastiness in some of the policies that were pushed with this administration? What role do you think the administration played in how, the issues we have right now?
So, I mean, it's pretty easy to sit down and just criticize, everyone or people who were there before, people who are currently there. But if you look at the data, you will realize that maybe it could have been a lot better, right? We could have implemented things a lot better. So, under the Buhari administration, the impression that they were given was, look, because we're at the very low fuel price or crude oil price levels, there was a lot of capital outflows out of emerging markets going into the US because of high inflation. And let's also remember that after COVID, a lot of countries started giving out money to their citizens. So that sort of raised inflation rate. And so when that happened, interest rates were high in a lot of countries. Think about it, if you had dollars and America is telling you, bring your dollars and I would give you 6%. Whereas Nigeria is saying, bring your dollars, I will give you 9%. I think you might want to go for America, because even though there's a 3% delta, America is less risk. And so that, capital wasn't coming in. So the Buhari administration now thought, okay, maybe there's so many things they could do. They came up with all sorts of unorthodox policies under Emefiele as CBN governor. As much as some of those things had good intention, they were woefully implemented. And then I think, as we're seeing now with a lot of the cases going on, there was a lot of corruption that did go on. So weren't implemented very well. Now, the current administration has now come with its own version of, reforms. But I think some of the criticisms you see is those reforms were very hard-hitting over a short period of time. And the cushioning effects did not go hand in hand, right? So because typically when you take away subsidy like this, then your local refining should kick in immediately, right? So not this 2-year or 1.5 year lag that we've seen. And even with that, the local refineries still had to fight just so that they can get their products out there, because the cabal still wouldn't want them to come out. So that's where there was a lot of problem. And even the transfers that they were supposed to give to the poor, as much as they did what they could, it wasn't efficient enough, and it didn't really hit a lot of people. And then even if you look at a lot of the subsidy removals as well, whether it's the power sector one, people still, yes, as much as they've now increased electricity prices, a lot of people still weren't getting the benefit of it, and you had so many system collapses. So Nigerians took in a lot, but in return, you're saying to yourself, was it really, is it really worth it on the short term?
We know, some of us know that, there's some form of economic crisis around the world. We compare what we hear from the UK, we compare some things we hear from the US, and now you've added, the sub-Saharan countries, that, this is all happening around us. It's not only us, but, we'd expect that it's easier on us. We are a major oil producing country. We have recently the CNG. So, and what we believe influences cost of pricing is always cost of transportation, where we rely on this, God gifts that we have, which is petrol. So, what can we do as a nation as regards petrol? Because now we have refineries around. Can we compel the local refinery, the private one, let's not mention name, to sell at an affordable rate to Nigerians? Is it possible to compel that? Is it also possible that this CNG alternative, what hope is there in it, reducing anything?
Brilliant question. So the thing is, we're advocates of less regulation and let the market determine prices, right? And as you've seen, when this whole refinery thing started, local refinery started, prices were like 1,001 thereabout. You can see that it's dropped to 900, and I think I saw in the news that it could even drop further, right? So what we need is not compelling refiners to maybe reduce their price or forcing, we don't want that. What the regulators should be doing is making sure that you have more competition, right? So allowing other people to come into that market and play as well. Because when you have more competition, then prices would go down. Then also invest in proper product distribution so that you can have products across various parts of Nigeria. And then that could also help prices.
So if we have 10 more Dangotes,
exactly.
We need more people to come into
this is not long term.
No, I don't think so. So we've always had modular refineries around.
Yes.
And then we also have our so-called, state-owned refineries. They said it's coming back. So so those ones still exist, and so long as they do exist, I think that really have no business trying to force them, to drop price. But one thing that, just to add, that is also out of our control is global crude oil prices, right? Yeah. So when global crude oil prices go up, then
but I think what Nima was probably trying to suggest is, because we own the crude. I know this is just basic stuff. Can we determine? I know we're part of OPEC, but we couldn't. But can we do some kind of drastic thing such that we're able to price our own crude? It's ours. Must we align with what OPEC is? Let me go in the very short break. When I come back, I'll let you answer that question. I'll come to BC. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
What if upgrading your TV doesn't mean buying a new one? Unbelievable, right? But with the new Airtel Smart Router, you can now watch YouTube on any TV and also get unlimited data for 30 days to stream thrilling Nollywood movies, catch up on football highlights, and keep your kids engaged with edutainment all on YouTube. With the Airtel Smart Router, everyone gets what they love. Get the Smart Router plus unlimited data for 25,000 Naira. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get yours. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Hey, Nana! Again?
That's what we see.
Welcome, my friend.
Kids! Stop it, Abba!
Children.
I know, right? But how do you do it? Your husband and children are looking good. See my own children.
Hi! I don't want to get belly again. I don't want to get belly again, no.
Nana, why not be Lydia IUD Smart? Lydia IUD Smart. With Lydia IUD, you can have the children you can afford and space them between 5 to 10 years. And you can still give birth or remove it anytime you want. Just call 7790. That is the code to freedom and enjoyment. Enjoyment mistress. Thanks.
Valentine's season is here and love is in the air. Guess what? Your View is kicking off 2025 with a bang, hosting our first ever live show on the 14th of February 2025 at the brand new TVC Communications Eco Atlantic Studios. You want to be a part of the magic? It's simple. Secure your seat now by registering online. Just send us your name, phone number, and tell us why you would love to join the fun. Get ready for hot conversations, fresh perspectives, and a chance to share your own view on trending topics. And did we mention we have tons of gifts up for grabs? Don't let anything ruin your Valentine's Day. Join us for love, laughter, and lots of unforgettable moments. See you there.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have with us Ugo Dre, and we're still discussing Nigeria's economy. BC, go ahead, please.
Yes, so I like the fact that you mentioned and reminded us that all over the world, these issues are happening. Inflation is really high, and we've traveled in recent times, and we've tried to buy products that we usually would have bought at different prices, and everybody's complaining that these prices are very high all over the world. But do you think our own problem, or why it's hitting us harder, is because there's still a lot of wastefulness going around, especially in government quarters? We see how these budgets are being done. We see the priorities of the budgets. We see some of the things that we should have cut out that is not needed still being expended on. And do you think if we find a way to cut down on those, maybe we wouldn't need to borrow so much? Maybe the inflation won't be as high as it is compared to other countries?
Good question. There are, of course, various waste that we see in our budget today, not just the current budget, which is about 49.7 trillion record budget. Previous budgets as well, we've seen huge numbers that we all think maybe can be leaner. Now, but if you look at it from the other side, to sort of flip it, they're actually the budget, like as percentage of GDP or compared to other countries, is actually quite small, or as a percentage of our population is actually quite small. But of course, the issue then is affordability. I mean, you can want a bigger budget, but can you afford it? So to your point, which is, are we properly implementing the budget and spending on the right things? I think if you go back and look at the data, the answer is that it's sounding no. Right? I think that there could have been better use of a budget. Over the last few years, we've seen recurrent expenditure top capital expenditure in budget, and then even capital expenditure in budget is nowhere close to 100% implementation. So for example, if we say, oh, we're budgeting 10 trillion in capital expenditure, we probably just spend 7. But if we say we're spending 12 trillion in recurrent expenditure, we will spend the 12 trillion. Right? So, and capital expenditure, is really what drives economic growth. And it's now worse because based on the current budget, we are now spending more on debt servicing compared to capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. So there could be better ways of implementing this budget that could alleviate some of the pain that we're seeing. So for example, if a lot of your capital spend is going on very good and efficient roads, proper infrastructure like rail and some of these things, I think you would see inflation come down a lot more. But more than anything else, what is probably driving inflation is even some of this ease of doing business challenges, whether it's you trying to clear your goods at the customs, or you're trying to export, the kind of corruption you face there, or what you meet on checkpoints down the line because you're trying to move goods from one part of the country to the other, or you're a farmer and you've just produced your goods and then half of your goods is spoiled because you don't have better storage system, or you can't transport your goods from one part of the country to the other. These are all the structural issues that actually affect inflation more than the budget.
Okay, I wanted to come to the futuristic part of this conversation, because what we've heard, especially when this administration came in, was that I need about 1 year, 2 years for things to stabilize. We need to make some hard decisions. It's going to be painful, and these policies, you not begin to see the benefits until about 18 months and above. Don't worry, by 2020, in the next few years, you will see the difference. Do you agree with them? And do you think that the decisions that have been made in the last 1 year was necessary? Even though, yes, we've agreed that you could have been done better. Yes. But were they necessary? And indeed, are we going to see some light at the end of the tunnel? Are we going to see some benefits of these policies in the coming year or so?
100%. I think they were necessary. And not because, some people intentionally wanted to do what was necessary. But it was necessary because there was no choice. There's really nothing else they could do. That's what they had to do. And so it should lead to a much better economy over the next few years. I'm actually very bullish this year. I think that we'll see inflation drop this year to a large extent, not necessarily because the structural issues have been taken off, but because you won't see all those, jumps that we saw last year, they're not going to happen this year. I think exchange rate will be fairly stable this year as well. I think businesses will have a lot more. I think there will be a lot more capital flows into Nigeria this year. So if you put all those things into consideration and some of the capital projects that they're also doing, I think as much as government still has their issues, we're actually seeing them execute better, right? I mean, if you recently visited Abuja, as much as you probably might not like the person in charge of that town, there are roads, there are infrastructure projects going on, and if you live here in Lagos as well, there are around. So you tend to feel like there is some sense of optimism that you could see a semblance of an improving economy. Now, but whether we get back to the OBJ type economy is a different thing. It's still going to take a whole lot of work to do. And my fear is that if they don't achieve a lot this year, then it might be difficult because from next year you're now gradually entering election season.
Everything shuts down. I was going to ask that recently the president, I think there was an article, I think it was the president saying we're no longer servicing as high as 90-something%, that we're gotten to 60-something%. He's dropped our servicing, debt servicing cost, and also because we remove subsidies, there's higher revenue to be distributed across states. What's the implication of this as things not still drop for our markets, for real life?
That's what I was getting.
So there are two different things, but let me address the first one. So yes, our debt service to revenue ratio, which was at some point even over 100%, is been dropping. So what that basically means is that the amount of debt that we pay as a country compared to or in relation to the revenue that we earn, right? So if we earn 10 naira, we pay debt service of 9 naira, right? Which is what was happening. But over the last few months, it has reversed. So debt service to revenue ratio is about, so we have maybe 6 naira or 5 naira plus extra now and probably reducing. And now that does not directly lead to reduction in cost of goods and services. What it only does is that it means government has a bit more money
for capital.
For capital projects. Exactly. Which indirectly could lead to inflation. What would drop inflation is what economists tend to call base effects. So if you're because inflation is usually one period compared to another period. So if the base period is high, like last year was very high because inflation was very high, we don't expect it to be high this year. So the base period is very high compared to the current period, so inflation will drop. And then, like I said earlier, you're not going to see the sort of exchange rate movement we saw last year.
Make it base period.
So let's assume that the base period last year is 100, okay? And this year's base is 120. So it means inflation will be 20. 120 compared to 100, right? 20 difference. So imagine if the base year last year was 80, it would be 40, which means higher inflation, right? So, but because last year's base was high compared to other years, when you do the differential, the inflation will be lower. So that technically means, and when you have lower inflation because of that base effects, then that could lead to lower interest rates, because you see interest rates are very high now. So the CBN will see it and say, okay, because we want to be very serious with interest rates now and want interest rates to follow inflation, now that we are seeing inflation going down, we too will reduce our interest rate. And then when they reduce their interest rate, this now affects every other thing in the economy, and then prices can start to go down. And it's already happening. We did a survey at Nairametrics in January, and we did see major food prices and other consumer household items prices go down. However, it was compared to December. So it tends to happen. January prices tends to fall compared to December. But the rate of drop was quite high. And we're like, okay.
Because I bought tomatoes, the bucket was 15,000. I bought it at 4,000.
Exactly.
So it was a bit too drastic.
So you're seeing that. So it's very likely that you could see that sustained all year round. So if it does, then I mean I think inflation rate will go down, and Nigerians can breathe that sigh of relief.
You know, talking about
revenue. No, revenue has gone up too. Good point as well. Revenue has gone up. No, revenue has gone up. Surprisingly, 2023 we did collect more revenue slightly more revenue than budgeted for. 2024 as well, based on the most recent data, which is I think as at August, we're also collecting more revenue than budget. Though some people will say it's because of exchange rate too, because they increase the exchange rate, so the money just increased or this higher. There was a question you did ask about the refinery earlier on and whether we should just fix the prices.
Yeah, I was saying
of crude.
Of crude.
So for that, no. You know why? Because when you do that, you distort the market completely, and then you create
the world market.
It's like it's another kind of subsidy. Though it's the one they call subsidized on the production level. But what happens is, I think about it now, let's assume you're doing crude, and the price of your crude, the cost of you producing is say $40 per barrel.
Okay.
And if you wanted to sell, because the international market is $75 per barrel.
Yeah.
For example. Then government now says, okay, because now we get the crude, right, and it's our own, sell it for $60 per barrel.
Locally.
Locally, $60 per barrel. Okay. So what now happens? What happens is that the guy who is doing the crude becomes inefficient, because he's already guaranteed of his $20 margin, plus that $25 that he's forgone. His government is going to pay him.
Wow.
Remember. So he starts to be inefficient from day one. Then what now happens is that, because you know how it is in Nigeria now, government is the one to, some people now come back and say $5 from that 25, you know.
And that like a round tripping thing.
Exactly. So you start to see all sorts of stuff. And then new investors who want to come in won't come in as well. So what you do is just focus on competition. And increase output. If we increase the amount of crude that we produce as a country, then ultimately you just see prices come down, because at the end of the day you just realize, you know what, there's no point, there's just too much crude, and even going outside there's nobody buying, let's go and just reduce it. So that is a better way of going about it than just saying you want to reduce it directly.
The prices.
Okay,
So let me ask this question. We've had exchange rate issues, and so far it's like the naira is gaining a bit of strength and the dollar is falling. And now the skeptics are saying that, are you sure that the federal government isn't pumping money, dollars, just to give us that sense that naira is gaining strength? And how long will this last? How feasible is this? How sustainable is this? Can we still hope that it will come down really low, or after a while they may not be able to put the dollars back in? So what's your take on this?
So if that is happening, then it's not sustainable, but I don't think that's happening. And I've heard that sound bites also, and I've had that argument with a few friends, and we haven't seen the data. And when we did ask the guys at the other side, that's the CBN, they also said no, they're not intervening the way that people think it's. So what's the way? So before the previous CBN, we did used to, like, the CBN will come in and pump in liquidity just so that they can drag prices artificially. Now let's remember that the CBN is also a player in the foreign market. The ultimate goal for any market is for the CBN not to intervene at all. Okay. But we're an emerging country, we're an emerging market, so we're not at that level yet where you say you will not intervene. So you have to once in a while pump in supply if you see market disconnections. What I think happened last week, and which some of our sources tell us, is there were some inflows that came in from foreign investors last week.
Okay.
And those inflows went towards buying treasury bills and OMO bills and some of the bonds that we sold last week. They were quite juicy in terms of the interest rate that they offered. And so when things like that do come in, people hear and they're like, oh, wait a minute, if this much money has come in, then prices would tend to go down, or the naira will strengthen. But I think it's short term. You're not going to see naira just drop to 1-2 as some people are already saying, jumping. No, it doesn't work like that. You would always see all these small up and down, which is normal. And let's also remember again that Donald Trump has just, increased tariff on some countries. So we've seen the US dollar gain strongly as at this morning, and most global currencies have fallen. So that would ultimately have an effect on our own currency as well, because we all trade currencies in pairs. And so I think that will happen. Then there's also demand for imports. I think you're going to see a lot of imports happen from the Nigerian point of view this February. A lot of people who brought in inventory. Yeah, people who brought in inventory that have sold off in December and January will probably be, making orders and all that. So that will impact. And then, like somebody said, that there's going to be FAC will be shared very soon. And you know what?
So talking about imports, because I was just going to talk. I mean, we've been talking about crude here, a lot, and one thing that I feel we need to, as this present administration, I think is working on, is diversification of the economy. We usually just bring up agriculture, and we never see the impact, We've never heard of a particular year or particular 4 years where agriculture led the way. There were more exports, more production of food, and and then there's also local manufacturing that seems like it's there, or not there completely. So I just feel like when it comes to diversification, why has it been so difficult to do it here locally, especially with the agriculture and local manufacturing?
So the funny thing is that I think a lot of people misconstrue what diversification means in some of the contexts that they speak to it. So Nigeria has a diversified economy. Like, the largest subsector in the Nigerian economy is agriculture. Crop production, yes, that's the largest. Followed by trade, telecoms, oil and gas is even further down in terms of how diverse our economy is. And Nigerian economy is mostly service-based. It's more service-based than
manufacturing.
Than manufacturing. Manufacturing is the least. So in terms of being a diversified economy, it is. But what I think we lack from a diversification point of view is Nigeria's earnings. Export earnings. So it's mostly crude, 90% or 80% of thereabout. So to your question, if I cannot realign it better, I think what we're not seeing is that all those subsectors are not operating at the level that they should be operating, and they're not growing at the level that they should be growing. And that's because of all the problems that we have in this country. Man, if you talk to manufacturers, they tell you ease of doing business is a huge problem. We've not been able to solve it despite all the good work that someone like the current Minister of Trade is doing. But we still haven't been able to crack that. You still have all these occasional shocks, like the exchange rate pressure of last year. Interest rate is high now. So all these things are affecting local businesses. So the game now is, with all these reforms that has happened, there really is no excuse, no reason why all these subsectors should not take off from this year. If they don't, then it's really a failure on the government's part, because if you've done all these reforms and Nigerians have taken off this pain, then you have to essentially allow your local
I have to run off because I only have a minute left. But you see, you kind of took me to where I want, because where's the part of the people? Because we always say government do policies, but it's one thing for you to do the policy.
If you use the right.
Yeah, if Nigerians still have a very foreign taste, I say, I'd rather buy my foreign than actually produce locally. If we still have those things where there's only so much government can do. They can create the policy if this deep. The Nigerians don't respond to that policy, nothing's going to happen. So how is the government's fault all the time?
But you know what? It's not the people's fault. Think about it. Like, I go to the market. I go to a supermarket, I want to buy something. Two things that you look at as a human being. You look at the price and you look at the quality and the brand. So, and quality is diverse. What you can consider as quality, I might not consider as quality.
It's still the foreign taste.
No, it doesn't. No, it's like that everywhere.
Because the quality, you're comparing quality based off the foreign taste that you have. Yeah.
We have to wrap up. We have to bring you back. Unfortunately, we run out of time. My director is my ears. But thank you so much for coming. We enjoyed this session, and we hope we can bring you back, because we need these conversations at least once in a while to help Nigerians understand better. Because we need to talk on SMEs. We need to talk about job creation. There's so much to talk about. So we'll have to bring you back at some point. Thank you very much for coming.
A pleasure.
That is all we can take today. We're speaking with Ugo Dre. He's the CEO of Nairametrics, and he's been very, very supportive in helping us understand better about the economy. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.